A federal judge on Tuesday largely blocked the Trump administration from implementing the latest version of the president's controversial travel ban, setting up yet another legal showdown on the extent of the executive branch's powers when it comes to setting immigration policy. The decision from Judge Derek K. Watson in Hawaii is sure to be appealed, but for now, it means that the administration cannot restrict the entry of travelers from 6 of the 8 countries that officials said were either unable or unwilling to provide information that the United States wanted to vet their citizens. The latest ban was said to fully go into effect in the early morning hours of Wednesday, barring various types of travelers from Syria, Libya, Iran, Yemen, Chad, Somalia, North Korea, and Venezuela. Watson's order stops it, at least temporarily, with respect to all the countries except North Korea and Venezuela. In a 40-page decision granting the state of Hawaii's request for a temporary restraining order nationwide, Watson wrote that the latest ban suffers from precisely the same maladies as its predecessor. Watson also wrote that the executive order plainly discriminates based on nationality in a way that was opposed to federal law and the founding principles of this nation. The White House said in a statement that Watson's dangerously flawed order undercuts the president's efforts to keep the American people safe and enforce minimum security standards for entry into the United States. These restrictions are vital to ensuring that foreign nations comply with the minimum security standards required for the integrity of our immigration system and the security of our nation, the White House said. We are therefore confident that the judiciary will ultimately uphold the president's lawful and necessary action and swiftly restore its vital protections for the safety of the American people. The State Department said it had instructed embassies and consulates across the globe to resume regular processing of visas for people from the 6 countries, but would implement the order for those affected from Venezuela and North Korea. Justice Department spokesman Ian Pryor said government lawyers would appeal the judge's decision in an expeditious manner. Today's ruling is incorrect, fails to properly respect the separation of powers, and has the potential to cause serious negative consequences for our national security, he said. Opponents of the ban, though, hailed the judge's ruling. Hawaii Attorney General Douglas Chin said, "Today is another victory for the rule of law. We stand ready to defend it." Omar Jadwat, who directs the ACLU's Immigrants' Rights Project and was involved in a separate challenge to the ban in federal court in Maryland, said, "We're glad, but not surprised, that President Trump's illegal and unconstitutional Muslim ban has been blocked once again." Trump had been blocked by courts from imposing his last 2 versions of the travel ban, but the ultimate question of whether he ever had the authority to implement such a measure remains somewhat murky. The Supreme Court had been scheduled to hear arguments on his second travel ban, inked in March, which barred the entry of citizens from 6 Muslim-majority countries and refugees from everywhere. But a key portion of that ban expired and Trump issued his latest ban before the hearing. That prompted the justices to remove oral arguments from the calendar. They later dismissed one of the challenges to the March version of the ban. Federal appeals courts had ruled against the Trump administration on the last measure, and Watson relied in part on the precedent from one of those cases in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. The Supreme Court, though, had vacated the precedent from the other ruling that went against the administration in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit. Latest travel ban will probably affect tens of thousands, and it could short-circuit the court battle. The state of Hawaii, the International Refugee Assistance Project and others who had sued over the March travel ban asked judges to block the new one in federal courts in Hawaii, Washington, and Maryland. They argued that Trump had exceeded his legal authority to set immigration policy, and the latest measure, like the last 2, fulfilled his unconstitutional campaign promise to implement a Muslim ban. As of Tuesday afternoon, the judges in Maryland and Washington state had yet to rule, though arguments in Washington are scheduled for October 30. It exceeds the limits on the president's exclusion authority that have been recognized for nearly a century, by supplanting Congress's immigration policies with the president's own unilateral and indefinite ban, the challengers in Hawaii wrote of the new ban. And it continues to effectuate the president's unrepudiated promise to exclude Muslims from the United States. Hawaii asked a judge to block the ban with respect